Hello everyone, greetings from PayTap's technical support team. In this series, you will learn how to integrate with PayTaps through our PT2 API endpoints. Throughout the series, we will walk you through the second integration type, which is the invoices. And for the purpose of this series, we have created a very simple Laravel project to walk you through the integration process. But feel free to follow the steps in this series with your own project, whatever the programming language or the frameworks used to integrate with PayTaps. So, let's get started. In this video, we are going to learn more about the Invoices API's optional parameter and how we can use them to empower our invoices. So, let's get started. Before we start, please note that you can find the full documentation for this part inside PayTap support portal under the article called the Invoices API's Integration Manual. Now, let's navigate to step 3, initiating the payment, and here let's initiate the payment via the invoice endpoint. Now, the next thing is to navigate through the available optional parameter, and here in this table you will see all the available optional parameter that you can use. And as you can see, there are multiple ones that you can use. So let's take an idea and use some of them. First of all, we have an optional parameter for the invoice object in general that will be applied to all the line items the total amount of the line items, and we have a specific optional parameter for each line item. So for example, for the whole invoice object, we have shipping charges that will be added to the total amount of the invoice. We have extra charges that can be added to the total amount of the invoice. We have extra discount that can be added to the total amount of the invoice. We have a total that will, of course, represent the total amount of the invoice. Also, we have the dates like the activation, the expiration, the due date, and all of these dates are usable for, like example, if I used an activation date and the user tried to access the invoice or pay the invoice before the activation date, he will not be able to do that. The same goes for the expiration date. If I set an expiration date and the expiration date has come already and the customer tried to pay this invoice after the expiration date, of course he will not be able to pay this invoice. Now let's go to the line items, and we can see that for each line item I can add an SKU, I can add a description, a URL, a net total for this specific line item. We can add a discount rate, discount amount, tax rate, and tax total. And the difference between a discount rate and a discount amount is that the discount rate will be in percentage. So for example, if I am using the discount rate and I set the value of it to 50, like that over here, if I set the discount rate to 50, so this means that there is a discount of 50% that will be added to the unit cost of this line item. However, if I added a discount amount of 10, this means a 10 USD dollars will be subtracted from the unit cost exact. The same goes for the tax rate and the tax total, which the tax rate represents the percentage, the tax total represents the amount itself. Now, let's try some of these optional parameters and see how it works. So I have used some of them over here. So for each line item, I have added an SKU, I have added a unit cost, a quantity, a discount rate, and a tax total. And for the total invoice, I have added some shipping charges, some extra charges, some extra discount. I didn't add an expiration date in order us to see the invoice, and I had a simple activation date. Now let's count the amount or the total amount of this invoice, and the importance of counting and providing the exact amount the invoice is that you need to make sure that the cart amount, the parameter of the cart amount, if you can see over here we have the required parameter cart amount, this cart amount must be the exact final amount of the invoice amount in here. So for example, I'm having an invoice, I'm adding line items, I'm subtracting charges or discount. The final amount after all of these must be the amount that you put inside the cart amount. So if we get back over here and see, I have a line item, its unit cost is 25 and it's have a quantity of 2. So this means the unit cost for this line item will be 50. So far, I have added a discount rate of 50%. So a discount rate of 50% multiplied by the final amount, which was 50, This means at 25 USD dollars, and I have added a tax total of 5, which will reach us to have 30 USD dollars. The same goes for two of the line items, so now I have 60 in total of the invoice, and for the whole invoice I have added shipping charges of 10 USD dollars, so now I supposed to have 70. Now I have added another extra charges of $10, which will be 80, and I have added an extra discount of $10, so I will be subtracting $10 to return it to 70, and you can see now that the total must be $70. Now this amount is the amount that you must set over here inside the request payload, inside the cart amount. So as you can see, inside my request payload over here, I have added the SKU, the discount rate, the tax total, the quantity, and I have added in the shipping charges, the extra charges, the extra discount, activation date. I didn't add an expiration date as I told you. So let's take a look at this request payload before sending and see how it looks. I'm going to get back over here to my HTTP client, and I'm going to debug the data like this, and let's get back and send out this invoice to see how it looks. This is how it looks. I have my required parameter, the profile ID, transaction type, transaction class, cart ID, cart currency, cart amount of 70, and of course cart description. And if we get back to the invoice object over here, you will see now I have the shipping charges, I have the extra charges, I have the extra discount, expiration date is empty, activation date is the 22nd of January, and I have the line items, which are two line items. The first one have these details that we just specified, and the second one has the exact same details. So let's get back to our invoice and see how this works again. I'm going to move my debug. I'm going to resend the request and take a look at the invoice. The first thing that you can notice is that you cannot pay the invoice because the activation date that we have provided has not been due there yet. It's not coming yet. So this invoice will not be able to be paid until the activation date comes. Now, the second thing that you can see inside the invoice, you will see the unit cost, the quantity, the description, the taxes, all of the detail, the discount, the amount, the subtotal, the extra charges, all of the detail that we have provided. You can now find it inside here, inside our invoice. Now, if we get back to our merchant dashboard over here, let's log in. Back to our invoices, you will see if we click over here and let's actually view the invoice, you will see that inside your dashboard you have all of these details, the amount, the discount, the activation date, the net total, and now you have a full view of how the invoice can be done with its optional parameter. What I want to try now that I want to change the activation date, so I'm going to get back over here. I'm going to leave the activation date actually empty, and I'm going to move it to the expiration date. I'm going to give an expiration date of a date that already has come, and let's say 2022. This date that has already passed. Let's see what will happen in this case. I'm going to get back to my API. Over here, let's reload, let's submit. And as you can see here, this will result in an error that says an invoice expiry date has passed. So you cannot actually create an expiration date that has not come yet, because this is no use. You cannot use an invoice in this case because you are creating an invoice that is already expired. So let's get back again. I'm going to change this and get it back to 24. I'm going to leave it as, let's say, 11th of January, the expiration date. I'm going to resend the invoice, and as you can see here, this invoice now has been issued in December 20 to the 23. And if we try to pay this invoice after the date that we have provided over here, you will see that this will not be able, or the customer will not be able to do that. But for now, if I click on pay, I will be able to pay my invoice normally. I will have the exact amount over here, and I will be able to view the invoice details again inside the payment page. And of course, I can fill out these details like that. Simply, we'll add the billing details. I will same as billing. Now you can see the transaction is successful. If I get back to my invoices over here, you will see that it has been paid successfully. Now, this is just an idea about the optional parameter and how it can empowers your invoices and how you can use it. But of course, there are more optional parameters that you can still use. We highly recommend you to check our solution article, which is initiating the invoices or creating the invoices, to check the available optional parameters and have an idea about it and learn more, test it and try it in order for you to create an invoice that has different features and powers that you can use with your clients. Now, we can move to the next video.